Hi, everybody. Welcome to Story Station. This is Sandy, and I'm excited about sharing this book with you. It's one of my favorites. It's written by Jan Brett, and she writes the most amazing books about animals. This one is called The Mitten. Do you live in climate that is cold enough to wear mittens? Do you know what the difference is between a glove and a mitten? Does this give you a clue? A glove, you put in all 5 fingers in its own special little hole. But in a mitten, you put all 4 fingers in one hole and the thumb in the other. So which one do you think gives you more flexibility, more ability to pick things up? The one with 5 fingers or the one with 2 fingers? I'm guessing if you have a hole for each one of your fingers, you could pick lots of different things up and have a little bit more movement. But when you just have a mitten with 2 holes, it does allow your fingers to keep each other warm. And that's a good thing when it's cold. So let's get our bodies ready and read all about the mitten. Here we go. Get your eyes wide open so you can see the beautiful animals in this book. And as you can tell, they are all in the snow. So I'm wondering what animals live near the snow. Get your volume up on your ears because Jan Brett has amazing things to tell us that the animals do when they come across a mitten. And last but not least, open up your voice box so you can respond and talk about all the things that you see and answer the questions that I am going to ask you. So let's get started with our song about the book. The title's on the cover. The title's on the cover. Hi-ho, Biblio, the title's on the cover. The author writes the words. The author writes the words. Hi-ho, Biblio, the author writes the words. The illustrator draws. The illustrator draws. Hi-ho, Biblio, the illustrator draws. The spine binds the book. The spine binds the book. Hi-ho, Biblio, the spine binds the book. And now it's time to read. And now it's time to read. Hi-ho, Biblio, and now it's time to read. Did you get a little picture walk of some pictures in the book? A picture walk shows us just a little sample of some of the things you might see. Can you make some guesses? Do you think there are going to be any problems? This book is pretend, non-fiction, fiction, but I'm guessing that some of these things could really happen in real life. So when we're reading, I want you to think about that and think about what could happen if some animals found a mitten. So even though it's fiction, it might really be able to happen. We'll see. There's a big problem and a great solution at the end. What do you think the problem might be? The mitten. sure what the problem could be. Maybe the next page will give us a clue. It's a Ukrainian folktale, adapted and illustrated by Jan Brett. And we so appreciate that Penguin Young Readers Group is giving us permission to read this story. Do you see any problems yet? Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. I don't see any problems yet, but look on the side. I see a great big outline of a mitten with somebody with yarn. At first, his grandmother, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. Do you think that could be a problem? If he loses his mitten and it's white, why do you think it will be hard to find? Can you guess? But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally his grandma Baba made them. Here we have the silhouette of the mitten with lots of snow. After she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens. How many mittens does he need? How many hands does he have? Did you guess? So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until, one of his mittens flew off his hand. His new mitten dropped in the snow and was left behind. And look at this mitten picture here. There's somebody inside that we're going to see on the next page. Can you take a guess what that animal might be? He sure likes the snow. A mole. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten, and he burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. Look at that little tiny mole getting in that little tiny mitten. Must be just right for a mole. Oh, but look what's coming. You know what kind of animal that is. It likes the snow too. The snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in, feet first. The mole didn't think there was enough room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. Would you like to share something with like a rabbit that has big kickers? Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under the wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled by not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles. They made room. Oh, it's getting kind of tight. And if you look at this one, there is Nicky. He's looking inside a tree hole. And here is the next animal that's going to appear. What is it? Does it say, woohoo, woohoo? As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. And when he decided to move in also, the mole and the rabbit and the hedgehog grumbled. So how many more is that going to be when the owl comes? You're right. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, they quickly let him in. Oh, look how sharp those are. I don't think those would feel too good. Oh, what's coming next? It's little, it's black with a white stripe down his nose. It kind of reminds me of a skunk, but it's not. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten. He began to climb in. The mole and the rabbit and the hedgehog and the owl were not very pleased. How many is that going to make when the badger comes in? But when they saw the badger's diggers, they gave him the thumb. Do you remember? A mitten has just 2 holes, one for the forefingers and one for the thumb. So all the animals were tight in the biggest part of the mitten that had the forefingers. And now the badger is going to get in the smallest part, the thumb. Look at what happened. What happened to that mitten? Does it look the same as it did when Nicky first got it from his grandma? Uh-oh. Who's coming next? It starts with the letter F and it rhymes with box. You're right. It's a fox. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of that cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they made room for him. Oh my goodness, I can't imagine. Look at you. See the fox's nose and the hedgehog's prickles sticking out? What happened to that mitten? Did it get all stretched out? Oh, the biggest animal of all. Do you think he's going to have room? The great big bear. I bet Nicky has no idea what's happening. Right now he's sledding down a great big hill full of snow. A great big bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal would argue with a bear? Not me. The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged too many times its size. But Baba's good knitting held fast. Oh, is he going to be room for the next one? The smallest. It rhymes with house, but it starts with a mm. Along came a mouse, a meadow mouse no bigger than an acorn. She wriggled into one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. Look at all of those animals snuggled in. But look at Nicky. What did he just realize? He just realized that he's missing something. What is he missing? Who's using it? The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous of the sneeze shot the mitten up in the air and scattered the animals in all directions. It looks like Nicky is looking everywhere. Do you think he's going to solve his problem? Is he going to find his mitten? On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was his lost mitten, silhouetted against the blue sky. Look at that. It's flying down from all of those animals, stretching it out, and the bear sneezing it off all the animals. As he ran to catch his snow white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. So little. Let's see if you can see it. So little. Do you remember what she was going to look for? First, she was going to look to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his 2 new mittens. One for the right hand and one for the left hand. Oh! But what looks different about his mitten now? Can you guess? What do you think Baba is thinking? One is the size of Nicky's hand, but the other one is huge. Do you remember all the animals that crept in to stretch it out? Do you think Baba can guess what happened? I wonder if it will go back to its own shape. Do you think maybe if she puts it in the wash and the dryer, it will shrink back? Boy, I sure hope so, because she spent a long time knitting those mittens. I hope you enjoyed our story, The Mittens, and see if you can tell your parents or whoever you're with today about all of the different animals that try to sneak into a mitten. It was great to see you, and we'll see you next time on Story Station. Bye-bye.